I would never sell my soul. Mac. Mm. I'm getting crazy.
A week after the election, in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You expect the last because if I may ask a question, sir. Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. Well, I'll get rid of the individual mandate. I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big comprehensive. That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare. Let me ask my question. Well, I'll ask Joe. And I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer it. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump healthcare plan? Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating about him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised.
We want spices.
There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting healthcare. All of the things that we've done. I'll give you an example.
Republicans have not done anything to help anybody who is not a fucking Republican.
I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth? So cheap.
You think that was true, honey?
Drugs.
If I don't get a health insurance,
we're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries.
If you don't get what?
Drugs become so they just a tiny fraction. You'll be happy on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare. The argument that he makes and the Republicans make
At first, I didn't like Trump at all, but I thought he was better than his opponent in those days. I think he sounds much better today.
What did he sound like before?
He sounded, the other day, he sounded like he didn't know what he was doing.
Free in most states, except governors who wanted to
So now he seems to be with it better.
Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Downstairs.
I know. On the manifesto, socialized medicine. Look, here, are you saying the fact of the matter?
Well, your charging setup.
Not by much.
What was it?
Would have left 2 days early.
Very good.
Every probably knows how to do it Tuesday. You got very lucky. Here's the deal. I got very lucky. We get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure. I want to make sure. President, can you let me finish, sir? He doesn't know how to do that. He is, you pick be surprised. The wrong guy, the wrong guy.
Trump will just toss over everybody.
They're both talking at the same time.
He's answering the question. He's being a douchebag. There you go.
Lost the left. Number two, you just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan that's absolutely socialized medicine. Mr. President, I'll tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care.
There you go.
Because he, in fact, already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away.
Yeah.
He won't dare look you in the eyes, and that's what he wants to do. Take it away. I want to give number three health care much lower.
Yes.
Because he doesn't know how. He doesn't it to an extent. He has health care. But probably not. You realize if you're both speaking at the same time,
This is basically a shit show. Like, it's terrible.
Is no good. We made it better. And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guaranteed pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well. That's it. And I just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive. Premiums are too high. That doesn't work. So we do want to get rid of it.
I don't think
We want to get rid of it. I understand this, but I have to give you
Working, it's working.
let the vice president.
Working.
He has no plan for healthcare.
Yeah, it's
Working. Anything free, it works.
Please,
Yeah.
it sends
There you go.
wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a healthcare plan since he got elected.
And he never.
has.
He had the chance to push something through, and he couldn't come up with anything.
He does not have a plan.
So mad.
He doesn't have a plan.
Wait, so he's trying to get rid of
This man doesn't
Obamacare?
know.
Oh, he has been for 4 years. Every time it came up for a vote, they were like, "Oh, we don't have anything."
If Senate Republicans, we were talking
Or we're talking.
Supreme Court here. If Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett,
All the people
there
in the
has been
fucking
talk
red states, all these hicks, are going to lose their health insurance. They're not going to have their oxygen, their iron lungs, their whatever. They need diabetes medicine, antihistamines. They're going to have to pay for it.
Why just they get rid of it?
Well, we will too, but everybody will.
Are you willing to
Yeah.
tell the American people
What, iron lead
whether or not you will support
That's
either ending the
Obamacare covers all these fucking
whatever position I take in that
people, poor people in
issue
red
is
states.
the American people should speak. You should
That's
go
true.
out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote
How
now. In
close
fact,
is it?
make sure you, in fact, let people know.
Biden's like way ahead. Almost like 20% ahead.
Your question is.
People are pissed at Trump, like the people that voted for him.
Oh, you just told us.
Man.
He's not cool.
This is so cool.
He's not cool.
This segment, we're going to move
This
on to the
fucking
second segment.
Biden guy is
Oh, he's
cool,
not
trying to
cool?
relate to us.
He has a collection of Corvettes.
I know, I heard it.
Just told the president to shut up.
We should tell him to shut up. He's a fucking asshole.
He's
State president.
He's the fucking president.
Let's try to be
No,
serious.
he's a fucking
Call him Mr.
We
President.
know he's a
He's a
douchebag.
man.
He doesn't have to deserve
Just tell him to shut up.
100,000 people have died.
He's
Even
talking over.
after we produce a vaccine,
Trump is
experts
cool?
say that it could
Is
be
Trump
months
cool?
or even years
How cool is
before
Trump?
we come back
How
to
cool is
anything
he?
approaching.
Don't
You're
start this. Don't
My
start
question
this. You're gonna
to
end
all of
up.
you is based on what you have said and done so far, and what you
Extra.
have said you
Wait,
would do.
Can you stop talking over the question? I can't hear.
Why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted. Good luck.
Good luck.
200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5% or 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that,
In the world.
about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Well, it is what it is because you are who
Why
you
you said
are.
that?
That's why it is. The president has.
Even my dad was like, don't listen to
He
Trump, don't
hasn't
go
laid
in the
out
bar.
anything. He knew all the way back in
Right before he
February
died.
how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do?
Nothing.
He's on tape, is acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was.
He took him out.
He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should
Lay down in the sun
We
in
should
your
be providing all
bikini.
the
Yeah.
We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they
No
need to keep
mask
their
on.
businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You shit out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get into their golf
Out of that sand trap in your golf course, you won't
Democrats, Republicans, and fund what needs to be done now to save lives. So if we would have listened to you, 2 minutes, sir. If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault.
He also
By the way, when you talk about
pulled
numbers,
his
you don't know how many people
man on the
died.
ground out of
You don't know how
China
many
2
people
months
died in
before
Russia.
this happened
You don't know how
because
many
he thought it
people
was
died in India.
useless.
They don't exactly give you
And
straight
didn't
answers,
listen
so you
to
understand. But if you look at what we've done, I
What
closed
were
it,
they
and you
around
said
it?
he's
The health
xenophobic, he's a
department
racist, and he's
had a
xenophobic. Because you didn't
informant
think we
in
should have closed our
China
country.
trying to track what's
You
going
didn't
on
think
there,
we
and
should have
he
closed our
canceled their
country
visit.
because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said,
It's the head of
President
the
Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look.
Or whatever.
The governor said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that.
He's not the Surgeon
People that
General,
would
is he?
not be
I think he is.
necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job.
That's kind
We
of
did. We got the gowns, we got the masks, we made the ventilators. You wouldn't have
They didn't
made
even have
ventilators,
the fucking
and now
mask.
we're weeks away from a
Remember when
vaccine.
people, some dude tried to buy a mask from me in
Fewer people
Walmart
are
in Rhode
dying when
Island?
they get sick.
I can't get a mask. Where'd you get that? You want to sell that? And it was like,
Sell it off you.
20 bucks.
That's because of fake
It was
news.
like some
No
shitty
matter what you say to them, they give you bad press. It's just fake news. They give you good press, they give me bad press, because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just say something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
It's a genetic job.
I know how to get the job. Well, you didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff.
Has he ever heard of swine flu before tonight?
People died.
Yeah,
200,000. Listen, sir, you may have you made a point, but there was no one. We didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy. He shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding the phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye. You lost far more people. Far more people. And you would have been, and by the way, your own,
You don't let him talk.
his own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up, he said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just the mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust you at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist. You know, we trust scientists. Johnson, Pfizer. And by the way, and then let me move on to questions about the future, because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words. Yeah. But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Of
Well, I've spoken to the companies and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing.
Completely.
I've spoken to Pfizer, I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call it
You're
left, I don't know what I
the
call
head
it.
of your operation.
I don't know what to call it.
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available.
He said it's a possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also be after
It's
that.
generally available.
We're going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be.
This is the same man.
It's all set up.
By Easter, this would be gone away.
That's true.
By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm.
Yeah, he did say that.
This is the
I
same
said
man.
it's sarcastic.
Hey, he did not say it's sarcastic.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will. Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
We'll have the vaccine soon.
I want to pick up on this question though. You said
That's in
Trump is
Henry
saying
and
this, but they can't trust
Southern.
President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your wife, Senator Harris, goes further, saying that public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it,
Nope.
are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
Fucking poison.
No more than
I would take a fucking coronavirus vaccine. I don't give a fuck. I do that over wearing a mask any day.
His own scientists. But you're saying
You're like those anti-vaxxers. You're stupid.
So how are you going to differentiate people? You're going to give people like a fucking patch to wear and a coat that says they've had the vaccine? So they're going to ask
I don't think that's true. That literally has nothing to do with.
Like here at this.
So how do you differentiate someone?
Take a vaccine or not.
Well, how do you know if people wear
You're like one of those idiots that thinks the flu shot gives you the flu, which it doesn't. I get it over You get the flu and then tell me you're not going to get a flu shot. Come on.
No, I've had the flu and I've had ear infections.
I'd rather have a flu shot than the flu.
Issue relating to COVID.
That's
He
personal.
still hasn't even
That's
acknowledged
personal preference.
that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February.
Did you get the
and he
vaccine,
didn't even
Penny?
tell you.
It wasn't ready yet. I want to get a senior vaccine in,
No,
you mean she means the coronavirus.
Corona vaccine.
yes, I didn't get it yet because it's.
They don't have it.
They will get it in October.
No, they will not get it in October. They'll get it half a way through next year. That's what they're talking
I'm
about.
not talking, you're right, they won't have that, but I mean the flu vaccine.
Do you want Trump to take away healthcare?
Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a
Because you know what? There's nothing
He hasn't
for
yet,
that.
though.
You have 47 years.
Because every time he had a chance, he came up with nothing better to replace it with. And they're like, never mind.
Well, I think it's a white herring. It's not even really an issue.
I had it close. The greatest economy in the history.
He just doesn't like it because it's called Obamacare.
Are you telling me that all the Democrats that got running around, this is the fucking best Democrat they got?
No, I don't think so, but like he's the only Democrat they got right now, so there you go.
Very different approaches, and this is going to affect.
What do you love the most about Donald Trump, Penny?
Forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president.
I used to dislike him, but I liked him better than the other
You
person.
have been much more reluctant than President Trump.
I like
What
his
do you
family.
like about it?
I like
the
his
economy
family.
and school.
You like his family?
That has nothing. They're also a bunch of
You know
shysters,
they
but
kill lions.
yeah, you know, his sons are like trophy hunters.
Thomas Edison killed an
We're
elephant.
not talking about Thomas
Thomas
Edison.
Edison?
Thomas Edison murdered an elephant.
Oh.
Just
We're not talking
Why
about
is-
Thomas
and
Edison.
Topsy.
What?
Topsy was murdered.
What are you talking
I'm
about?
not kidding.
Can we listen to this?
Stop
You
it.
even meet with him.
The Republicans won't be.
He's awake today.
He sits in his.
I don't understand why people say he's senile. He's fine.
Well, today he's fine.
He's always fine. It's just because Trump plants this new brain.
No, it's because
Joe Biden is not senile.
well, he's not.
He's very central and he's very vanilla.
Well, now he's okay,
but he is
you haven't
pretty
been watching it every
astute.
night.
He wants to shut
He's had a lot of personal tragedy, you know. His son died. His whole family's like all died. The reason he didn't run before is his son died of brain cancer. Hunter Biden.
Young children aren't.
He went to work like 3 days later, you know. And he was like, oh, I don't know.
But
He's not a bad guy. I've seen him on Jay Leno's Garage. He likes Corvettes.
If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states,
He was in the military too, which Trump was not.
one of the reasons they
He got out because of
keep it
bones
shut down until after the election.
asshole. And then he said, what he did to fucking John McCain, who is a asshole war hero. You know? I like people that aren't captured. Fuck you. What an asshole. John McCain spent 6 years in a fucking in the Hanoi Hilton.
He asked for it.
He did not ask for it.
They would have let him out.
No, they would not have asked for it. That's the
Do you think
Next
Biden?
thing you can do is tell me, John, I like my heroes that don't get captured, by the way.
That's what he said.
I know.
What an asshole.
Well, how about John Kerry and his Purple Hearts? Who should have more Purple Hearts? John Kerry or, I don't know.
Every time you see him, he's got a
John Kerry should have more than fucking
he shows up with a big
Donald Trump, who didn't do shit.
I will say,
Wait, did Joe Biden serve in the military?
Yes.
way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to.
What's
We
What's
provide
shaking on
money.
Trump?
I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Oh, that's his name.
Masks make a big difference. His own
I know.
CDC said if we just wore masks between now, if everybody wore masks and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters. And they've also said the opposite. They've also said no
they didn't
serious
say
person
that.
said the opposite. No serious. Dr. Fauci.
I don't like masks, but they did not say the opposite.
Very strong. Masks are not good.
No, he did not. That's baloney.
I'm okay with masks.
I want to ask you about one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people outside.
Not really, no insight.
Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Nobody will show up.
people.
Nobody shows up to his rally.
All right. In any case, why
Such
are you
baloney.
holding the big rallies?
I mean, I don't think Joe Biden's going to get anybody excited to show up at their like political rally, really, but he's not Trump. There you go. I would vote for anybody who's not Trump.
People show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you not worried about
We have a
disease
lot of
issues?
people.
He sounds better
We have
today.
had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference according to the experts. If we do them outside, we have tremendous.
Actually, it doesn't matter if you're like
As you
close
see,
according
I
to
mean,
the
every-
experts. But
and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you say one of the last big rallies he had, and a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back, put on your mask, put on a mask. You've been tested. I'm way far away from you. But that's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the
that's
people
true.
out there breathing one of
We've had no negative effect. No negative effect. We've had no negative effect. We've
Bullshit.
had 35, 40,000
That's
people.
not true. At all. They had a huge spike in everywhere he's had a rally.
Responsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing, the people wearing masks, basically encourage them not to.
All right.
And he's a fool on that.
If you could get the crowds,
He's
you would
right.
have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody can.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the agenda? Gentlemen,
That's
can we move
baloney.
on
He's
to the
all
agenda?
worried about
The
crowd
economy
size. It's a bullshit.
is, I think,
It's the biggest inauguration in history. Like, so it's like, I mean, it was.
in the second quarter. The unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had
Guy,
expected.
what's all this stuff?
President, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery.
Bro.
Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a V-shape.
Can we hear the
What
question,
difference
please?
does that mean
Sorry.
to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump in this.
I don't even know what they're saying.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong.
That's actually
And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns, and I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of the
suicide rate went up 25% in Massachusetts since they shut down the economy. Because that's what happens when they shut down the economy. He's right about that. I don't usually say Trump's right, but he does have a point.
They can wash their hands, they can wear masks, they can do whatever they want, but they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look at these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. I will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right, your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let me know.
I'll get my time back. The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he could be the first president of the United States to leave office. I mean, fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines. Those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who have been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? He can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why are schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open safely. You know, they were going to give this administration to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. You ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we keep it safe.
Your time is up, sir. Well, you're going to get to it.
I'm going to respond to that.
Well, you both have 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, you made a statement. So the people want their schools, they don't want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their life. They'll be careful, but they want their schools open. I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back the football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And the people of Ohio are very proud of me. And you know how I got out of that?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you pay $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just say to you, there was a story in one of the papers that I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million. Show us your tax returns. I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have I built
I'm asking you a specific question, which is,
let me tell you.
I understand all that. I didn't know, Mr. President. I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So not
Millions of dollars. And you get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just say something that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is.
He's a they.
Donald Trump is people
He's
too.
transgender.
Privileges for depreciation and for.
I'm not transgender. I'm not transgender. I'm not transgender. I just identify as plural. So call me they.
By the Obama administration,
Yes.
you can believe that.
They's
Now, the
pretty
mayor
hot.
fired right after that happened.
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
I do want to respond. Look, the tax code
That's right.
made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher make, the money a school teacher makes, is because of him taking advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to limit.
Not only him, but
We're going
oh, shoot.
and make sure that we
Have you ever had any domestic violence in your family, honey?
President screwing things up. You were a senator, and the worst president
America has ever had.
Hey, Joe, let me just say, Joe.
Oh, worse.
47 months.
Shots
I've been
fired.
working
Yeah, the liver was.
47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of, including fixing the broken military that you gave.
We're children at that time.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward. Because Mr. President, your economic
Both get
plan,
that horizontal,
if you were to be elected
subliminal,
president, focus on big government, big
non-tax
taxes,
things,
big
right?
spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what the analysis done by Wall Street firms points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying America. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal,
Have you
we're
ever
going to make sure
spilled a
that
drink on anyone on
has
purpose,
to be
honey?
made
No.
by a company.
Respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate significant numbers of tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It should be 21%. You have 91 companies, federal, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
How can you do it?
Billions of dollars.
Because Obama.
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. You know, our economy boom.
The economy is
Mr. President, let me finish on that. You would continue your free market approach. Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's gonna go get
for
here.
Quarter of
deregulation.
10, they closed at 11, right? I don't know.
But
But
Obama's,
The real store is open at 11.
it turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs
Biden?
Tried it.
Oh,
How about they joined together
in the
and
first 3 years
those
of
tried
your
it?
presidency.
They had the slowest
White
recovery
male.
since economic recovery
It's
since
such a-
1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market
Oh,
goes
he knows so much about the stock market, he lost billions.
if you got in,
No,
if you're a big president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes.
Big old-
My taxes, I'll tell you what, you must,
Wait,
the
I wanna hear
companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession, short of
That's true.
depression in American
Oh,
history.
God,
I was
that's
asked
huge.
to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery since
It was zooming. It was zooming. It was over the internet.
When it was record low unemployment before COVID.
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me, Chris. Wait.
Number two. Number three.
They said you would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Chris, they said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Why
did
did
not
I stand it fair?
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
That's
industry.
true.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan.
And Chrysler sold stuff to Fiat as soon as Trump got
And
in
in
there.
fact, they're gone.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
It's not
Many
true.
car
That's not
companies came in from Germany, from China.
It's so bullshit. He knows nothing about the auto industry.
And they didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done.
Do you think
He's
they're,
done very little.
do you think
It's
they're gonna bring up
treated the
Biden
same way.
because like
He
young
talks about
girls
these
over
great
the
trade
No, I think
He
that's
talks about the art of the deal.
I kind of hope Trump
perfected the
brings
art
it
of the
up.
steal.
There's no commercials. I hope
It's
something.
it's unbelievable.
You remember the first presidential election? Actually, Trump. He was like, Rosie O'Donnell's a trash person. Everyone knows it. We all know it. That was like his platform. Was talking about Howard Stern and trash talking Rosie O'Donnell. I'm like,
He's a
I feel like I'm finally a part of the presidential debate. You
Yeah.
know, I'm involved in it now. But it's like the worst, you know. I don't know.
Can I hear about
Yes,
it?
yes,
None of that is true.
Really?
He actually knows nothing about the auto industry. Trump. Like people in the actual automotive press.
Well, you got $3.5 million yet?
Mr. Vice.
We got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
This is
President.
the first time he's been on this show, but.
That's actually baloney. It's not.
No, I heard him the last few days, and I'm amazed that he can do this like this every day. It would be all right.
Do you think that Biden is on drugs? I mean,
I don't know what he's doing.
what do you suspect? What do you suspect is wrong with him?
Mr. President.
I don't know. He was dopey the other couple of nights.
You think he's a dope fiend? You think he's a heroin?
No,
Do you think he's on amphetamines right now?
I just have no idea.
Trump wanted to get Biden a drug test. That's so stupid.
That's discredited.
Oh, really? Of course. He probably thinks
Biden,
it's from Hawaii, too.
Biden was like, fuck that.
If you had to date, I listen to the
I kind of want to hear why they
did
do it.
my job when I did it.
I heard my question.
I'll give you the list of the people who testified. Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't.
Well, but here's the.
You get the final word.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown.
That's true. Oh my God.
That's not nice.
No, and she should. Trump's the biggest asshole in the world. He deserves it. He calls everybody the worst thing.
Families.
Good for him.
I don't want to do that.
Can you guys
His
stop
family,
this?
we can talk about all
Jesus
night.
Christ.
His family's
Very
already
sorry.
Pay attention here.
He lost a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such a direct,
Mr.
that's such a
President,
Single one of them.
This is so ridiculous. You can't even hear a word they're saying.
It's about your family.
Right, their sides are sweating. It's so hot.
Yeah, it's hot as fuck in your house. That's why I'm always like, why do you keep every fucking window
The
closed?
American people. It's
What the
about
fuck,
you.
Harry?
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, some meat in here, some human meat.
Vice President,
Hey, kosher.
Oh,
No, Senator, the answer to the question is no.
or
He didn't want to stop talking.
Sir,
With $1 billion in your
you know when you're waiting,
not true. You're doing it.
you're gonna have
It's true.
Oh,
Gentlemen,
God.
and I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to me, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
Right,
We
see,
have
and we're in it.
6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next
What's
segment.
wrong with
In that
Thomas
segment,
Square?
you each are going to
They're both
have
wrong.
uninterrupted moments.
He's
Is it
wrong.
folding? I always get the triangle. I don't like this. Well, you think it should be like this, a triangle?
I don't think they should have a Times Square in
But
it.
if they did have one, how should it be?
I don't know.
You said it was wrong.
It just looks
If we allow.
I think it's wrong too, but I don't know what it
Fewer
should be.
interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you were doing more interruptions.
Yeah.
But he does plenty.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
listen,
you should have points.
sir,
Listen,
listen,
fucking
no,
real.
listen.
both of them have points. Him and the other.
Look at that fucking smug
Other
motherfucker.
guys.
That's how he's smug when he's pushing
He
you.
should be smug because he's having them deal with fucking Donald Trump.
4 years ago.
It's not a-
That's the look he gives
It's
you.
so obvious who's like more
Joe
intelligent.
Biden. Joe
What's
Biden.
on their little lapel
Today
there?
is okay, Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's always
He's a
okay.
He wasn't okay the other
He's
day.
not a fucking kook. You know what? Coming
This guy-
against this asshole? Are you insane, dude? I think you're fucking. Your politics are stupid, and also you're a racist. So there you go.
Wait, who? Henny?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah.
Big plague, you know.
Uh-huh.
But that whole shit, I was like, fucking. I could fucking destroy
He
you.
called himself that.
What are you doing?
No, she didn't.
No, he's
Well,
getting
It's
upset.
about decency. It's about the
You
Constitution.
shouldn't have started any of that. You fucked my relationship. I'll never forget
What?
it.
You can't put it off on me.
No, it's your fucking fault.
What are
Negative.
you
Yes,
talking about?
absolutely.
So,
It's nothing to do with you.
I thought you were yelling at me.
It's confusing.
I'm not talking to you. You're just nosy.
He'll yell at you later. Okay, now he is.
Those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches. Their
What's on
veins
their
bulging.
lapels though?
I don't know.
They're just
American flag.
anti-Semitic bile.
Oh, some kind of
Anti-Semitic bile. True.
Anti-Semitic bile, what do we think
And
about
that's the
that?
president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides.
Yeah, bullshit. Fucking
President
asshole.
ever said anything like that.
He did say that.
Now,
On both sides of what?
When there was a dude ran over the protesters in Charlottesville.
Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House.
Mr. Floyd.
What did he do?
Yes,
He came out
he's a mister.
had the military use tear gas on him.
I don't trust anything.
You're not, I know, you're not
You're a fucking
mister.
swab
You're
Yankee,
fucking
white
bum.
trash, fucking
Yeah.
racist. So there you go.
You.
Let
I heard you
you merchant of death, war profiteers, tiny car, no warranty selling.
Now, you can say all that, but you're actually the one that uses racial slurs and calls people like go back to your country bullshit. Like that whole thing was you fucking destroyed my relationship.
You're a mess.
I will never because I came back to Brookline, I will never see Michelle Wan again. And that is
No.
Oh, well, no.
Come on.
Well, I mean, that's not because of him.
Well, what the fuck did he say? I have no screenshot. You want me to read it to you?
Right, but you coming back to
Went after Galarian, you cut your throat in the process. You gave your sister direct.
You have to
No,
Your
no, no.
And the mother the whole time was like, "You're getting $1 million. They sell houses for $1
It
million."
has nothing to do with your mother.
Americans.
Yeah.
No, you fucked up by doing all that, and that's what
Wow.
1994.
Yeah.
Where you called them super predators,
Oh.
African Americans,
Another
super
one
predators.
that
And
found
they never-
If you didn't agree with me, you wouldn't have changed what you wrote because I know you did, and I have screenshots from before and after.
And I'm letting
Well,
It's a lot less racist the way you changed it.
Well, you'd be
Oh, on
hard
this
pressed.
page, I made him change it.
You'd be hard pressed. You'd be hard
That's why
pressed.
you wanted to change it. I made him change it.
Well, she's self-described.
They're doing better than any Republican has done in
Yeah.
a long time. Because they saw what you did. You called them
Penny, if you had to date, you absolutely had to
Call
date.
yourself a COVID queen.
Testimony of the
That's different than what you said.
I don't think the pink plague
And
is
as
that
far as the
bad.
general
Now, pink plague isn't that bad, but it was the rest. You go back to U.S. throwing bottle at U.S. national. Like, fuck you, she's a U.S. national. She's born in fucking Toledo. Asshole. And also, you should not have called. You had no business when I told you to leave it alone and let me deal with it. So
She threw champagne bottle out the window.
I don't fucking care. You deserved it. I told you not to go up to her fucking room.
See? Which I did.
Yes, you did. Yes, I saw you up there, and I told you, get the fuck out of there.
Why don't you say the word law enforcement? Because you know
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Talking about
matter.
the
we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at
Okay, honey, my question for you is if you had to, if you absolutely had to date either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, who would you date? If you had to, you absolutely had to.
We believe in law and order, but you don't. The top.
If you say Donald Trump, I'm never talking.
No, don't be
First of all, Joe Biden is awake today.
He's always the same. I don't
No,
understand.
he was
You're just
very-
repeating Fox News talking about.
No, he was terrible the other two
The
nights.
people of this country.
Tonight he seems to have.
The other two nights, there were no other two nights. I know what you're talking
There
about.
were a couple of times he's been on when
No, he was not terrible. He's always been fine.
He's a fuck.
He's just
That's
fine.
not fine.
Donald Trump's an asshole. Joe Biden's fine.
Homicide. You said it raises the.
I don't understand why there's even a fucking debate about this. Donald Trump's a fucking douchebag. Joe Biden's fine. He's not that great, but he's fine.
But don't take criticism of Joe Biden as an endorsement of the other candidate. I'm just saying that, you know, vacuum in a bubble, where Joe Biden was the only presidential.
Would you rather have Elizabeth Warren run?
Jesus.
There you
Is that all they got?
Yes.
Who would you date if you had to date Donald
We risk our
Trump?
lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they find them, they
He's
have to
awake
be
today.
sorted out. They have to be.
I think both.
He's always
have to be
fine.
Terrible.
I don't think either.
He wasn't on the TV yesterday.
Can you do an impression of what he was like, honey, so I can understand?
Well, yesterday he seemed kind of.
He wasn't on.
We're gonna work this out.
Where do you get this?
I
What did he sound like?
He sounded senile.
He was not on
He's
yesterday.
awake. Well, the day before, what's the difference?
He was not on the day
He
before.
was.
He
He was
has
on.
not
He's
been
been
on
on
fucking
seven.
anything.
He has been on the news. He's been on the news.
Violence and
And
response.
it's asking him questions.
Never.
And
This is a fucking military.
Yes,
Jesus Christ, this asshole didn't even fucking go to Vietnam to the boom spurt.
Run through the middle of the town in a truck, burn down the stores and kill people in the trolleys.
Leonard Cohen's Canadian. He didn't have to go to Vietnam.
Well, I just know he had bomb sprays and it made me scared that I had bomb sprays. But
This
my
month,
therapist said I
your
probably don't.
administration directed federal agencies to end
Today's making
racial
sense.
sensitivity,
So you would go on a date
Can we
with
listen to the question?
privilege, or critical
No.
race theory.
So you'd go with
Why
Trump?
did you decide to do that, to end
Oh,
racial sensitivity training? And do you believe?
I'm not going to talk
I hope you don't grab you.
Not my time.
I ended it because
I
it's
have-
racist. I ended it because a lot of people
I'm
were
decided, yeah.
complaining.
Trump can't call anybody fucking. If you vote for Trump, I'm not fucking talking to you anymore.
Never again.
The revolution that was taking
I'm not
place
sure.
in our military,
I want to know
in our schools.
if he's going to build that
Just
wall.
don't vote for any. It doesn't even matter where in
I
Massachusetts.
think that's the joke. Yeah, that's true.
It makes no fucking difference.
If you are a certain
Just
person,
roll Plymouth Rock over an inch, am I right? Henrietta?
Exactly. It makes no difference.
Push Plymouth Rock an inch further into
I
the
want to hear what
right?
they
bad
say.
ideas, and frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate
Trump's
our
just such
country.
a
And I'm not
fucking
gonna do that.
asshole.
I'm not gonna
I
allow
hate
that to
him.
happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country.
Core values? Fuck you, you
This
asshole.
country is a
There is no core values. We're all doing
Teaching
It's only
people
core
to hate our country.
No more
We're
internet.
not gonna allow that to happen, my friend.
No more Chinese.
Nobody's done that. He's racist. Here's the deal. I know a lot more about it.
Just build that wall.
The fact
Can you
is,
just stop
there
this?
is racial insensitivity. People have to be aware.
I hate having you guys actually have a relationship when I waited
Me
3 fucking years and now
Me
I'm
too.
fucked, but you have a relationship.
It's
So
not
fuck
great.
you all.
It's not going well.
Good. I hope it fails miserably.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Me too.
I don't really have that, but I'm actually fucking pissed because I can never be happy, but everybody else is fine. Fuck everybody.
That's about true.
No, it is true, actually.
They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people.
Fuck you all. All of you.
All y'all.
They look down
I
on
want to hear what they
people who are a
say.
different color.
Yes.
In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to put this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at
Yes, it was all the fucking asshole racists.
if you go to very many places, look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more
Bullshit.
violent
Not like
than
here.
we're even seeing now.
That's not
But
true.
the reason is that the Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
You still
crime.
haven't mentioned. Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go ahead, somebody.
You answer facts on
They're talking on top
An
of
order
each
of
other.
justice where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down
He's gonna bring that to you?
15% in our administration.
More so than fucking Trump.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Trump's jokes. Would you stop this? It's driving me fucking insane. Seriously.
We're getting beat up over this.
It's supposed to be gas. Here, why are you here?
Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my
Trump, like, Fights fire with gasoline. That's what he does. He lights more fire. Would you stop it? And also, if everybody's gonna drink the beer I bought, maybe.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Thanks for
Honky would get up and use the goddamn pedal foot.
I think it's
Wheel himself
important. You can
in
bring in a couple of
on his
examples, but if you
balls.
look at Chicago, what's going on in
Get us some
Chicago?
better.
He's always talking about Chicago.
People were
She has nothing to fucking do with Chicago.
It's going up like nobody's ever seen it.
I love
The numbers are up 100, 150, 200%. It's crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't. Because he loses for hours. And once he does that,
I kind of want to hear what they're.
if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would suburbs would be gone. By the way,
What?
suburbs would be gone. And you would see problems like
Unless you took.
Why is it looking for something?
This is not my.
I was afraid that my female would find me so never talk to me again. And I actually ended this thing. You didn't take my car, but
Black and white and
Don't be angry.
I'm fucking pissed because the more I think about it, if I didn't come back to Brookline, I probably wouldn't be in this.
But we're all losing neighbors.
You're already moved. That's what you don't
That's
understand.
serious.
What?
She closed her door to you, told you to fuck off.
No, she did not.
And she let her mother do it, which is even worse. And then she's turned her back to you. It's got nothing to do with anywhere in the world right now. Being here,
That's not true.
didn't make all that happen.
Oh, it did.
She'll ignore you because she's
Reimagining policing.
No, yeah, exactly.
First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support these? Let me, if I might finish this question. What does reimagining policing mean?
I don't think so. I'm gonna kill myself when I get back to Rhode Island. It doesn't matter. It's a fait accompli. You know what I mean? When I get back to Rhode Island, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. I've stopped
What
out
I
drugs.
support is the police
So there you go.
having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face.
Well, why?
And I'm
Why not? I'm not gonna fucking sit there by myself. I give myself
Why
a
do you have
week.
your license now?
I got nothing.
Funding that his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local
You
law
wanna go live
enforcement
at
assistance.
Thomas
They need
Knowles'
more
house?
assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down.
Yeah,
We have to
bullshit.
have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the community.
Officers shouldn't have anything to do with
Went
people,
down.
by the
It
way.
didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're.
That's exactly.
That is actually what
That
they
is
are
not true.
He doesn't have any law.
Would you look?
He has no law enforcement.
That's not true.
Almost.
Bullshit. That's complete
Who do you have? Name one group that
Trump's
supports you.
bullshit.
Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead.
Look,
We have time.
we don't have time to do anything.
All right. Name one law enforcement group that came out and
Law enforcement's a fucking bullshit, fucking asshole fascist.
Another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree were peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence?
It's not violence, it's a protesting for a valid
I
reason.
am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you
be
never called
prosecuted.
for the people, the leaders, excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call this, bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, really?
Here's
No,
what
no, no, this is-
March get the killer of a young man in the middle of the street. They shot him. Man, for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had sent down the U.S. Marshals and they took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help us cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't understand that.
I do. Who? I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said.
She said that. And so here's
Yeah, she did say
well,
that.
here's the point. The point is that that's what he just keeps trying to rile everybody up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire.
That's what I just said.
And every single solitary.
Okay, and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
answer his.
You have you've been talking
You
back
made a
and forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
sir.
I'd love to end it.
If you want to.
He's such a fucking douchebag. You can't even let the guy
If
speak.
the National Guard would be over, there'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups.
So shout
But
out.
are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists?
If they're all like Rod Weaver or whatever the fuck his name is, they should all
Wait,
be
let's
shot.
see if he's
I fucking hate
Wait,
Rod
wait,
Weaver.
wait.
The number of
Yeah.
these sittings as we saw in Kenosha, and as we
I think he's whack-ish.
Are you prepared to
He's
do
stupid.
that?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right
So
wing.
he's not,
Bullshit.
so he's not willing
To do
to.
anything, I want to see
Yeah,
peace.
like-
Do it, sir.
No, yeah, no, he isn't.
You want to call him, what do you want to call him? Give me a name, give me a
White
name.
supremacists and right.
No, wait, so, yeah, there you go.
Supremacists and right.
Stand back and stand by, but I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa.
Oh. Good job, Trump. You fucking just nailed your fucking coffin.
What he said.
He said he was gonna stand by Proud Boys because somebody's gonna do something about it.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir.
Oh, we're done, sir.
That's not an idea.
Fucking idiot. But I think Rod Weaver is the biggest fucking idiot, fake bullshit artist I've ever met. Actually, I do not like him. I don't want him ever near me. I don't like him. I think he's using Lauren because she's cute too to expand his cause. Stupid it is. He's like a 3-year-old. Stupid. I don't think anything he has to say is worth saying. He's a fucking asshole.
Which is don't compare me to the
And I think he's stupid.
compare me to the alternative.
He's a
And in this case, sir,
No, I think he's a fucking idiot, and I honestly don't like him at all. I think everything he stands for is bullshit. He's just he's a bland and he's a
over your
fucking idiot.
opponent in this segment President Trump.
I don't like him at all. I do not like his presence. I don't like him near me. Next time I see him, I want to fucking stab him in the eyeball. I just think he's a fucking douchebag. And I think he's using Lauren, honestly.
The impeachment hoax.
And he's making her seem stupid because he's using her cuteness to expand his cause of dumbness. But she's not dumb, but she's looking stupid. And she's getting fucking destroyed because of him. It's so stupid. She should have nothing to do with it. She's not dumb.
You should bring us up. I think you should state this.
I told her. I'm not going to say it on the air because I'm not going to fucking debate Rod
You
Weaver.
don't have to.
And they were saying it's
No, I don't want it. I'm not political when it comes to talking to these fucking. But I think Rod Weaver's a 3-year-old.
All of the other things.
Okay.
The
I would
fixing
like to
of
get that on tape.
the VA, which was a mess under him.
Yeah.
308,000 people died.
He has a mess now.
Okay, he was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets.
Now, that's
We
bullshit.
built our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300
First term.
federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court judges, justices. That is a record the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges?
You're such an
Because
asshole.
President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings,
Are we moving
you can't
everything
be a
tomorrow?
good president.
Because
You
my
can't be a
sister's
good
been
vice president.
fucking
But I want to
grilling
thank you
me,
because
so
it
we
gives
have
us
to.
almost.
They're like,
you'll
those guys gotta be out by
probably
Wednesday.
By the end of this term, 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? The president's uninterrupted.
Yeah, the thing is that if we're not out by Thursday, she's gonna fucking kill me.
Poor.
And she wants us out by tomorrow.
When I was,
I'm not bringing anything. I'm just taking my fucking piano and being
I
like,
was asked
fuck
to
you
fix it.
all.
I did.
And then lighting
The
fires.
economy.
And I'm gonna kill myself. But that's a whole nother story that will happen next Monday.
The fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppet. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers. You still got $1 billion. And by the way, my son,
Mr. President, your campaign agreed that both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
he never keeps his word.
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, yes, they have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before.
Yeah.
In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation that can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there.
And now he's got a break.
And I resent it like I'm talking of my son, Beau Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It wasn't
Cocaine use.
Full on.
And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you became vice president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow, and various other
That's
places.
bullshit.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
my son,
And he didn't have a job.
my son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem.
Yeah,
He's
sure.
overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he
Proud of
getting
my
tens
son.
of millions of
But he wasn't given $10 million. You've already been totally discredited.
we've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, you know, as a moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
$3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
This guy's a terrible moderator, by the way.
It's totally discredited. I Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report was written for political reasons.
You know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate.
Why do you have to get your Honda
a number of Obama environmental records?
Because
What
how
do
I
you
gotta
believe
bring if
about
I'm
the
gonna
science
change
of
the
climate
place.
change?
Can you just
And
leave it
what
there
will you
and
do
tell them
in the
that
next
they're
4
nice
years
there?
to confront?
Or are they just like sick of
crystal
having it?
clean water
Well,
and
if
air.
I'm gonna
We want
take the
beautiful,
plates
clean air. We
off
have
of
now
it.
the lowest carbon.
My
If you
sister
look
asked me
our numbers right now.
20
We are
times over the
doing
past couple days at least
By having
what's
destroyed
going
our
on with the
businesses,
car.
our businesses
I'm like,
are
I don't fucking know, don't know.
commission.
But
If
only
you
it's
look at
like,
the Paris Accord,
I think
I
you have
feel like I have to get my,
and people
get
are actually
car
very happy
to
about what's going on.
my
you just-
parents' house.
Can you just
As
get
far
it
as the
towed?
fires are concerned,
Well, that's what I'm gonna have to do. If I
Yes.
can't, it's gonna be a lot of money.
the
What happened
forest
to Chris?
floors are loaded up
He's
with
not gonna
trees,
start,
dead
he'll be right
trees
back.
that are years old and they're like ginger.
Like,
And
that's what he's
leaves
trying
and
to
everything
do
else.
today.
You drop a cigarette
I
and
think
the
it's
whole
a
forest
waste of
burns down.
time.
You
You're not
gotta
gonna
have
get
forest
wheels
management.
right
You
from
gotta
the
have-
car.
What do you believe
should
about
just
the
tow it.
science of climate change?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to
Whatever
have
we do,
immaculate
it's
air,
very soft.
immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting.
believe
A lot of
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of the
I think a
planet?
lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better
Do you have
management
your
of our
license?
forests every year. I
So
get
can
the
you
call,
drive?
California's
Yeah.
burning.
So
California's
all
burning.
you need to
If
do is
that was
register the
clean,
car and get
if
the
that
plates
were-
off.
If you had forest
plates off.
management, good
Mhm.
forest
Right,
management,
and then
you
you
wouldn't be
can
getting
drive.
those
I
calls.
like that
You know, in
car.
Europe, they live there, forest cities. They're called forest cities. They say
Yeah.
forest. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground. So that's burning down because of a lack of
But sir,
land.
if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy
You're an
standards
idiot.
that are going to create more pollution?
You know, the major automakers all were like, he's an idiot. We can do this. Fine. Like,
And you took it.
they're making
a
way
tiny
more
difference,
smaller
and then what
engines
happened because
that
of the
create
cost of
less
the car,
greenhouse
you would have
gases
at
that
least
have more power. You know, like
cars
they're like
that are
rocket scientists
that are
designing
10, 12
engines.
years old.
They're like,
If you
Trump's
did
an
that,
idiot.
the car would be safer.
Like,
It
they
would be
can't
much
sell
cheaper by
the cars they can sell in the US and Europe, so like they're gonna change. They have
because
changed.
people would be able to afford a car. Now, so, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people.
I mean, fuck the climate. I don't care. I'm gonna be dead next week anyway. But you know,
For an extra little bit of gasoline. And I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I give it big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
it is. He's right.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you
What
to
did they do in
respond to
California?
the
No,
president's record. I also want to ask you,
by
without concern, you proposed $2 trillion in green.
baloney. They don't have the infrastructure for electric cars yet. That's gonna put people like me and you who can't afford a new car. We're gonna be fucked. Or people who don't have an apartment, they just plug your car in. We're fucked. And fuck you, you know? Like,
The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than
Renewable energy is
coal
bullshit.
and gas and oil.
This whole, Trump's an idiot, but like, I believe the liberals in this situation are fucking retarded. You know what's the best way to have less carbon emissions? Let people have old cars on the road that burn shit tons of fossil fuels because it costs way more for fucking global warming and the economy and everything to manufacture cars and emissions than it does to keep old cars going.
The ability of us to take 4 million buildings and make
full of shit when they're like, you get to take your car off the road. Emissions. But the thing is, it costs way more in emissions to manufacture
there's so many things that we can do now.
And also, electric cars are bullshit because the mining that goes into getting the battery
energy production by 2035. Not only not costing
destroys the earth way more than burning coal.
Good paying jobs, not 50.
And I know this is a car, but it's like a lie. The electric car is a lie. It costs way more to burn. You know what powers electric cars? Coal-fired plants.
I want you to Paris Accord because with us out of the look what's happening.
I don't know what happened to my.
Paris Accord is bullshit.
Talk about someone who has
it's garbage. Stop picking up stuff off the floor.
Brazil, the rainforest of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped out. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than I would be gathering.
I'm not on final expedition.
This is the last night in my house.
Here's 20 million. Stop.
I'll be dead probably before
the forest.
I
And if you don't, then you're going to have significant
economic
consequences.
President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his
I can't
line.
take it anymore.
He had drawn a line. He still, for example, make sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not.
She asked me over and over.
You can now emit more methane.
Honestly, if I don't have to find shit on,
This is a guy
I'm
who
gonna
says
fucking
that
stab
you don't
myself
have
in
to
the
have
jugular
one
because it's making my everyday interaction with everything like I'm so fucking annoyed. I wrote her today. I got pissed off. I was like, you know what? Like, you literally left me with fucking bag.
100 trillion dollars. I'm talking about. They want to write down buildings. It's not their airplanes are out of business. Their 2-car systems are out. Where they want
Everything I own is covered in dirt and fucking horrible.
This is a 100. That's more money than our country could make. In 100 years.
I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president has said, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs. Good.
Thousands of millions.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs. And these tax incentives for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much.
I like kombucha and I like voodoo, but I don't know if I like kombucha. It's like how I like jazz and I like rock, but I don't like jazz rock.
You don't play jazz rock?
And here's the deal. We're going to be
Did you bring any hard liquor back?
Hard liquor.
Good jobs.
We got Corona. You can freeze the Corona if you want to just, you want to do it like that. Freeze your beers.
What?
We ain't got no liquor though.
On floods, hurricanes,
You freeze the beer, it's just alcohol
we're in
in the
real
can.
trouble. Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms.
It's like
climate change.
Sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before, but because of global warming, we make up 15% of
But I have a question now. Does alcohol freeze?
The rest of what we got to get in the
There you go.
That's what we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
The Paris Accord is actually baloney. The fucking Europeans are insane about this.
China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does, India does. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, I made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
The Green New Deal is bullshit. Ocasio-Cortez is a fucking idiot. Alexander Cortez.
I said the military. I said something about the military.
She's
His
hot.
friends made it up, and then they went with it.
I'll give her that.
Said-
But she actually is so full of shit.
He called them
Green New Deal, fuck you. Like,
So no more traveling, no more cars.
Stupid bastards.
Be like, fuck you. I can't have a car if I live in Boston, Greater Boston. She's an idiot. I don't like her. But I don't like Trump. I don't like either. What I would like to do is put them all on a space shuttle.
About the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
I would like to put Alexander Cortez, AOC, or whatever the hell her name is, even though she's pretty, in a spaceship with Donald Trump and send them to space together.
That in fact are great.
With Ellen Ron Hubbard.
You support? No, I don't support the Green
Yeah,
New Deal.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, he doesn't support it.
I support,
There we go.
The radical left. I support the Biden plan. But I put
He doesn't support the Green New Deal. There you go.
which is different than
Green New Deal's stupid.
Green New Deal.
All right,
That's
stupid.
Biden does not support it. Let it be known.
Is that the
Millions of
car?
Americans
So good for you.
receiving
Yeah, it's that whole like no traveling, no cars, no this, no that, little city for walking only, blah, blah, blah. I'm fucking idiot. We're going back in time to 1890. Alexander Cortez might be hot, but she's fucking stupid.
Stupid. What do you prepare
That's my
to
dad.
do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate?
Nobody's taking my freaking car. They can pry my steering wheel for my cold dead hand.
Should go to
That's what they are saying.
decide when they're going to vote, when they're going to vote.
Pry my steering wheel for my cold dead hand. NRA. I'm a member of NRA.
Are you?
Yes, I am. I have nothing to do with these assholes. I hate these idiots. I don't want to have anything to do with anybody who want me to be part of their club.
Vote
Right.
by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two,
There he's
make
like,
sure
yeah,
that
that's
those
right.
people who
Yeah.
want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure
Yeah,
that
he's an asshole.
distance,
Trump
polls
is
are
an
open on time,
You find
and
out
they're
one of
all stay
them.
open until the votes are counted. And
I
this
wish
is
they
all
would
about
fight.
trying to dissuade
Yeah.
people from voting because
He's always the same. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, most of the time, he was Dopey the other
That's
day.
not true.
That is so true.
What does he sound like?
He always sounds totally on point. He's fine. He's not great, but he's fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Every time I listen to him, he sounds like a jerk.
That's not true. I've heard him every time you.
determine the outcome of this election.
He's fine. He's not great. He's not left wing. He's in the middle. He's fine. He's better than Trump because he's not Donald Trump. There you go.
In fact, he said
That is the. I would vote for a fucking
it doesn't matter.
rat from the basement at 21 Naples Road over Donald Trump. He's an asshole. And Joe Biden's just fine. He's in the middle. He's
Just make
fine.
sure you understand. You have it.
Donald Trump's an idiot.
Determine what this
Joe Biden is
for
fine.
the next 4 years. Is it going to change? You get 4 more years of these lies.
Yeah, he lies. He's a bullshit artist, liar, TV
I
personality.
listened to Joe
With
talking
failing
about
companies, he knows
transition.
not what he
There's
is.
been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look
But
at
he's always talking about how he won. I won. He's like a 3-year-old.
because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won. From the day I
Because he
came down
was
yesterday,
crooked.
First Lady.
Russia
We're
meddler.
a disaster. We're a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all.
Oh, we caught him?
Baloney. By the way, you gave
He didn't
me
caught
to the
shit.
Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we
There-
caught you. in a
How many
disaster.
people from Trump campaign are in prison?
Because he knew about
17.
about a free transition.
I'm not kidding.
As far as the ballots are
They're
concerned,
in
it's a
fucking
disaster.
federal lockup.
A solicited ballot
Russian meddling, totally true. He sucks Putin's dick, pardon my French.
I did that.
He's a fucking has-been fake TV host who's bullshit artist. He should be fucking drawn and quartered
Just happened after they
in front of the White House.
in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place.
To
To
China.
the Democrat area.
Folks go to China. Ballots are going
I
to
think he actually works for Putin. I think he owes the Russians a lot of fucking money.
It's nice.
He does. He does. It's actually proven.
I think we're
There you
doing
go.
well because people are really happy with the job.
He owes them money in real estate.
We might not know
taxes.
for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey.
They kicked him out of New York for a reason.
And other places.
He's been there forever. They don't like him there.
1%, which by the way is too much. An election could be.
He had to go to Florida.
Yeah, listen, 30 and 40%.
He got kicked out of New York.
And it's a
Yeah.
shame.
He changed his address officially. He was like, New York doesn't want me. I'll go to Florida.
November 10th.
They don't want him there.
November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states for that.
Sir,
All run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All run by
You're-
Democrats. It's
President Trump,
It's a rigged
you're
election.
going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged. So it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters.
Hey, this is a good question.
Ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including the Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, well, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated.
So he could have lost
We don't like them. We
2016.
don't like
But
them.
what
They
do you
throw
do
them
about
out.
it? There are millions of ballots going out.
What you do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot. That's okay. Or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people.
You go and vote. You go and vote.
But
Like
I'm
they
saying is,
used to.
No, you can't do it with coronavirus, you asshole.
A solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being.
Oh, they're selling ballots. Oh, who's going to pay for ballots? $20. Oh,
This is not going to end well. This is.
He's so full of shit. Like, if they went in his direction, he'd be like, oh, mail-in's fine. Like the last election.
5, including 2
Bullshit.
Republican states. And
He's
you
such
don't
an
have to
idiot.
solicit
I hate
ballots.
I really hate Donald Trump. I hope he gets run over by a
What
Sherman
they're saying
tank.
is, that it has to be a postmark by the time, by election day. If it doesn't get in until the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because.
You're wrong.
That's true.
You're wrong.
I'm going to continue with you on this.
I love you.
Vice President
Bullshit.
Biden-
He's so full of shit. Trump, if it went his way, he'd be like, oh, it's fine. Oh, no, it's right. Why can't we all of that? Yeah.
Has not been fraud.
Oh, I hate him so much.
It has been that sizable number, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other
Hundreds of
irregularity.
thousand ballots filled
The
out.
deadlines.
How's the election even
Is,
fucking
Are you
real?
concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you.
Here's the
when you
deal.
He says that that's a
when you get
drinking
ballot,
game. Here's the deal. When he says that, you're supposed
You're
to have
supposed to
a
have an affidavit. If you didn't
Really?
know, you have to have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify
what
that's
does
you
Trump
when
say?
before the ballot is
Oh,
thrown
there's
out.
a whole bunch.
That's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
When you have 80 million ballots, Senate is swamping the system. You know it.
Hey, shut the fuck up. You're not allowed to talk, asshole. You know, I hate him. Oh, I hate Trump.
President.
He's an asshole. He literally should not be.
His hair is coming back.
He shouldn't be in charge of fucking anything.
Coming back.
I didn't like him as a talk show host or TV or whatever the fuck he did, and I don't like him. Can you stop that?
Increase in mail-in
He
balloting.
was.
That we are not going to
The
know
whole
on election
experience,
night who the winner is, that it could be
Why is
days,
that
it could be
near
weeks,
It should be months.
until we find
Okay,
out
the
who the
2020
new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other.
Oh, good
Will
luck.
you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period,
No.
not to engage in any civil unrest, and will you pledge tonight
No.
that you will not
That's a
declare
bullshit
victory
question.
until the
Are we
election
listening to Fox
is
News?
independently certified?
Yeah, it's a Fox News
President
anchor.
Trump,
I'm
you go
urging
first.
my supporters to go into the polls and watch very
Oh,
carefully.
that
because
baloney
that's what has
said
to
the
happen. I
opposite.
am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was
You
a
didn't
big
say
problem.
don't
In
engage in
Philadelphia,
civil
they went
unrest.
in to watch. They're called poll watchers.
Nazis. You know who supports Trump?
They were thrown out.
Nazis.
They weren't allowed
It's
to
true.
watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things.
Yeah.
And
Nazis.
I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're white
election,
supremacist like
I am
Trump.
100%
That's enough to
for it.
not
But
vote
if
for.
I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
Does that mean
from a
you can't go
common
along?
sense,
Does that mean
it means you have a fraudulent election. Yes,
It means he does not answer the question.
He's international now, ready to roll.
Number two,
It's
they
fu-
cheat.
Okay, so we're supposed to
They
take.
found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Oh,
Vice President.
yeah, of course they belong in a waste paper basket.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the
What's
vote
a
is counted, and
malpractice?
will
Wait,
you
let's hear what
pledge
he said.
not to declare
I love how
victory
you're
until the
making
election is
fun.
independently certified?
Yeah,
Well, I want to hear what he
here's the
said.
deal.
But you also want to.
Here's the
As you
deal.
pointed out, some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots. That this somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
You had an opportunity to
Look at
respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact
Here's
is,
the
I
deal.
will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome, and I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, will you say that's the end of this? This is the end of the
Honest
debate.
ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave it
he
there.
does.
Well,
To be continued.
He's not gonna,
And
if he gets,
as we go
if Trump
on.
doesn't win,
President Trump-
he's not leaving office. They're gonna bring in the fucking National Guard, they're gonna have to shoot him.
For
I hope
participating
so.
in the first three debates that you've agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic.
He said he wouldn't, if he didn't win, he wouldn't leave office peacefully. He said that
One week
numerous
from
times.
tomorrow, October 7th, at the
Fucking
University of
asshole.
Utah. In Salt Lake
It's
City.
because of his
Vice
stupid
Presidential
ego.
nominees,
And
Vice
look at his
President Mike
stupid
Pence and
ear.
Senator Kamala Harris.
That's
Will
that's
be at
why.
9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you.
You've been a terrible moderator. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, it is hard to know where to start. I'm not sure how people are going to feel about that to be continued at the end. And people have to make their own judgments about how the candidates handled themselves tonight, who made the better case, who offered plans for the future, who told the truth,
Well, this is our last
and who
time.
deserves to be
So,
president. Those are all judgments that are going to be made over the next several days and weeks. But I have to speak personally here as somebody who's watched presidential debates for 40
who is
years.
that?
As somebody who's moderated
She looks like a
presidential
drag
debates, as someone who's prepared candidates for presidential debates, as someone who's covered presidential debates, that was the worst presidential debate I've ever seen.
Looks like you're funny.
Then like over some 98 minutes. I want to go
That was
to
the worst
John
one.
Paul, you were there in the room. You covered the president. Your thoughts?
George, the debate was a total mess. It was a mess of interruptions, petty insults. I was in touch with some people on the floor who told me they were stunned by what they were seeing transpire on that stage. Donald Trump came across like a bully. There was an avalanche of untrue statements that came out. Joe Biden did not have a particularly steady performance. I could say, really honestly, it looked as if both men lost this debate. And in that sense, the real loser was Donald Trump. Because as we said at the start, Donald Trump needed to change the dynamic of this race.
He doesn't need to change shit. That's a joke. He's already won.
Needed to change the trajectory.
Are you serious? Are you?
He won 6
Chris, sometimes I think you're fucking retarded. Do you ever look at the news? He's like way behind polling everywhere. You're fucking. I think you're. Seriously, I think you're a fucking racist idiot, and you have a warped view of how the world works. First of all. Secondly, you're responsible for Michelle Wan leaving me, so fuck you.
George, this was just remarkable. You take a step back and you think about the fact that in a normal debate, if you were to call your opponent a clown, racist, the worst president ever, to tell him to shut up or to shush, normally that would be considered crossing a line. But here tonight, that was part of a concerted strategy by Joe Biden to try and show that he could keep his cool, actually. It's part of an effort by Joe Biden to show that he can be the adult in the room, that he can be the leader who can guide this country out of these really turbulent times. And so over and over again, he simply refused to give credence to the president's attacks, even though, let's be honest, there were parts of that debate that were simply unwatchable because the two of them were just talking over and over each other. I mean, here in the room, it was really astounding. And it was a fact as you watched it. The president was often turning to the former vice president, pointing his finger and speaking directly to him. Joe Biden instead staring straight down that camera, trying to speak to the American people, making his point. The Biden campaign says all you saw tonight from the president was chaos.
Thank you, honey.
Thank her. She's the threat to herself.
She's hitting yourself.
She's beating you up, I know.
Hitting yourself.
First of all, I've said earlier that it was the vice president's job to reassure. I don't think there's a reassuring performance from the vice president today. He looked very shaky at many times during this debate. His numbers were way off. He would wander off in mid-sentence, and then he used lots of name-calling and insulting language. That's not rising above, and I have to disagree with Mary, or at least what she's conveyed from the Biden folks. And yeah, I think on the Trump side, it was too hot. I mean, listen, you decide you want to be aggressive, and I think it was the right thing to be aggressive.
Yes,
it was too hot.
Right thing to be aggressive.
What happens is, with all that heat, as you said before, you lose the light. That potentially can be fixed. Maybe not. We'll have to see.
Biden.
Joe Biden is concerned that his problems can't be fixed. Because if you're not up to being able to stand up there for 90 minutes and be consistently coherent, people are going to wonder whether you're going to be able to do that when you're sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office. That's the issue that got raised tonight.
I think Joe Biden did a smart strategy of a rope-a-dope. Because, in fact, the president looked totally out of control, and Chris Wallace basically said
that was a good one.
the president
echo?
exactly like the
Why did it hurt?
Because you created a vacuum in my head.
The president steadied as the night went out. When he talked about COVID, when he talked about healthcare, when he talked about, and he looked right at the American people and said, this is about your family and your direction. When he also talked about the integrity of bringing people together, and also when he rebutted him about his son Bo in service and not calling him a patsy for serving. I thought those were his best moments. There are moments he did who wouldn't get rattled when you're having somebody just scream at you all night. And in fact, and Chris Wallace basically said it, like, hold on here. There are rules here. And so I think the president hurt himself by only having a fifth gear. There was no second gear, there was no third gear. And I think, given that, I think the vice president practiced a pretty good rope-a-dope strategy.
David Muir, we're going to have to do it on GMA tomorrow. You're going to have to do it on World News Tonight tomorrow night. What is the lead of this debate?
Well, as we were going into this tonight, George, one of the things that you and I were talking about is the level of exhaustion in this country. We have to remember that the backdrop for this entire debate is this coronavirus pandemic. 200,000 American lives have been lost. The economy, millions on unemployment, and people are exhausted. They want to know, when is this going to end? Who has a plan to help guide the way through? And you have to wonder if tonight did anything to further that argument or put people at home, and that's what we always think about here as we do the news, with the folks at home, did it put anyone at peace about the future of our country in the immediate months and years to come and how we navigate our way out of this moment? We talked about President Trump. This was a unique opportunity for him to come in and say, here's what I will do over my next 4 years. I'm not sure we heard a lot of that tonight. And Joe Biden had to come in and we said, no unforced errors, don't get pulled into the personal attacks. I do think he was fairly steady in temperament and tone, but I do wonder if people will be frustrated at home, no matter how difficult it was on that stage and in those moments, that they didn't hear enough really from either about their specific plans of guiding this nation forward.
One thing that is getting a lot of notice, Lindsay Davis online, the president refused to condemn white supremacy.
Right, and he said he would. When he was asked, he said, sure, I will. And then he ended up essentially getting a call to action saying, stand back and stand by. That was something that really got my attention. And I can't say I was surprised, but it was really a moment that I think that people, especially in the Black community, heard loud and clear.
Gotta take a quick break. We'll be right back. Americans love stories. This story ends, the climax in space. It starts right here on Earth. John Glenn, Howard Shepard. We've got the best pilots in the United States. Every school kid is going to know the name of the first man in space.
Yeah, I think so.
Ready to shine from the inside out? Try Nature's Bounty Hair, Skin, and Nails Gummies. The #1 brand to support beautiful hair,
This is a person with 18 followers
and try
who says that
now with
she's
2
with
times more
Offset
vitamin.
if
When it comes to
getting
buying a
back
home,
together.
Base Ready Cash is key.
And she just
But you're a
started
queen,
falling.
and that's just as powerful. You're armed with a verified approval from Rocket Mortgage. Sellers know your offer is good, so your bid has the strength to compete with cash offers. Now grab your crown and rule. The castle is yours. So if you need an edge in the bidding war, Rocket can.
Hey there, Robert Larson here. You know, with Simply Safe, you get comprehensive, professionally monitored home security without having to leave your house or have anyone to come install it. You simply order it online, it gets delivered to your door, and you can set it up yourself in just a few minutes. Imagine that. So take it from an expert. Get Simply Safe to protect your home, your family, and anything else you need to keep a close eye on.
ABA Finals on ABC. Rise together.
Downpours and strong winds at our doorstep. When and where to expect the worst conditions.
Preparing for the next phase of reopening the newly eased COVID restrictions for businesses in low-risk communities. Plus, questions and concerns over the decision to make those new changes, even as the state's COVID cases climb. An arrest made in an attempted sex assault in Boston's Public Garden, while the suspect is no stranger to police at 11.
This home is equipped with Wi-Fi from Xfinity. There's this game time interneting room, so fun. Wow. And then there's this work from home
With school back in session, Xfinity is helping kids continue to learn no matter where they are.
We're providing affordable internet access to low-income families through our Internet Essentials program.
That's why we're working 24/7 to keep our network fast, reliable, and secure.
And helping college students study and stay connected to our university.
Wednesday morning on the Center 5 Eye-Opener, impact weather in the forecast. Now timing out the rain and wind headed our way.
Plus overnight reaction to the first presidential debate.
And what happens next? Wednesday starting at 4:30 a.m.
Be ready with storms and fire.
Okay, are we done now?
Back now to this first presidential debate, one of the Republican strategist, Sarah Fade, and you said there was that Joe Biden had a tougher job coming into the night. Is that the way you feel coming out of it?
Look, I think this was a total food fight. I don't think either of these candidates won. There were moments where the president was setting up the choice in this election, but they just devolved, and they devolved too quickly. And the challenge for the president, I agree with John Carl, that in a place where he doesn't command the stage in a presidential way, He's not getting ahead. He's down 7 points going into this debate. I think he's probably still down 7 points after it.
I think this debate was an unmitigated disaster, and I think Trump's performance has shown me exactly why our country is in the state that we're in right now. The fact that we've survived to this point with that kind of leadership, I think, is amazing. I think, Joe Biden's challenge was, as my grandmother said, don't make sense out of foolishness, or make a fool out of you. I mean, there was so much foolishness. I don't think there was a way for him to really cut through and have the moments that I think he desired at the top. It was just completely out of control. And I think the people who lose are the American people who, as David has said, are looking for hope, are looking for real direction, are looking for leadership. Joe Biden did the best he can. And frankly, out of the gate, he did a much better job. By the end, it was clear that even he was getting unsettled. And I think got a little too hot towards the end, too. I wish he had taken a deep breath. But he had a huge challenge because Donald Trump really, really was a disaster. And I'm really, really afraid for our country, unfortunately, if he wins another term.
Matthew Jack. Thank you. Matthew Jack, you've worked for both Democrats and Republicans. Of course, you worked for President George W. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think this was an embarrassment. If you were in a foreign country, look at our United States right now. If you watch that and think this was an embarrassment, and if you're sitting in our country, it's embarrassing, and then embarrassment falls directly at the feet of Donald Trump. I actually think there was a winner tonight, and that winner was Joe Biden, because if you're president of the United States and you're the incumbent, you have to convince people that everything's good in America and put me through another 4 years of this. And if you watch that debate, as a citizen of the United States, you're not thinking everything's great in America right now. So Joe Biden, yeah, he had good moments. He had some moments where he had a hard time dealing with this. And as I said, going into the debate, that Donald Trump's a bull in a china shop. Well, the bull was let loose in the china shop. The moderator tried as best they could to control it. Joe Biden tried to fend it off. But when you look at the end of this, Donald Trump had to convince the American public that 4 more years of this is a good thing. The exact opposite conclusion, I think, they're going to come to after watching that debate.
Martha Raddatz, I don't envy anybody the job Chris Wallace had tonight, but I wonder what lessons moderators going forward, supposed to be 2 more presidential debates, a vice presidential debate, are going to take from this.
As I said going in, it takes a lion tamer in a debate with Donald Trump, and you needed 10 lion tamers tonight. I think Chris Wallace tried. I think at some point you just have to stop it. It was not a presidential debate. It was mud wrestling, as David pointed out, in the middle of a pandemic. I have been in touch with some voters who I met on our cross-country trip. There was one man who was leaning towards Trump, but going into the debate tonight, he was leaning towards Biden, but he did not like the name calling. He did not like Biden dropping to the level, he said, of Donald Trump. And I want to talk about the military tonight. As you know, George, I'm in touch with a lot of people in the military. One of them said to me tonight, this is the most shameful interaction between 2 leaders ever. I am sad and ashamed.
Martha Raddatz, thanks very much. We're going to take one more break.
I'm looking for my clients. I'm his accountant. I'm so sorry. Hey, man, you're here. You don't trust me in your Vegas thing? Yeah, well, I thought we had a breakthrough with the Volkswagen. We did, yes. We broke through. That's the Volkswagen. That's the brush work. Wow.
Where's that?
Are you sleeping?
No.
Ready to take your immune support to the next level? Nature's Bounty is here for you. The #1 herbal supplement brand has everything you need to help keep your immune system strong. Immune support comes naturally with Nature's Bounty.
All OTC pain relievers, including Voltaren, have one thing in common. None are proven stronger or more effective against pain than Salonpas Patch Large. There's surprising power in this dash. Salonpas. Dependable, powerful relief.
Trump versus Biden. The first presidential debate will continue after this.
What? It's over. Right?
And strong winds, the hour-by-hour impact. Plus, the new ease COVID restrictions for businesses in low-risk communities and concerns over the decision to make those changes as COVID cases climb. Next.
according to the internet.
What the internet says?
Yeah.
Somebody else seemed like there was people vote.
Trump's such a fucking asshole, though. Like, he should lose no matter what, you know? He should be, like, losing, even if, like rap from downstairs.
I can't vote because I am a minor.
What do I know? I'm just a kid. Our generation's too young to vote.
I'm so sick of seeing these fucking people with their masks around their neck. Like,
The pressure for my
fuck
generation
you.
to address the climate crisis is growing.
I can't ignore the climate. It's really bad.
I would say to the older generation, we're living on this planet longer than they will be. Hopefully.
I hate
It's
shit.
like saying that you're wearing your mask, but you're not.
Yeah.
I'm Gideon. I'm Amelia, and I approve this message.
Man, I love Montana. Clean air.
Yeah, and Trump lost according to the internet. That's why I like
Beautiful, big sky country.
Tomorrow, the reaction, the fallout in real time. Who won, who lost George and the powerhouse political team. Tomorrow on America's most watched morning show, Good Morning America. Senator Bernie Sanders recaps the debates on Jimmy Kimmel Live. New tonight on ABC.
What are you this quarter?
Drop the taco. Get your car. Does this sentence feel like a compromise to you? The handling is good, right? No compromise there. Watch this. You're automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra is going to compromise, what should you?
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class. Right now, get a low $149 per month lease on the 2020 Nissan Sentra.
What would you do with 5 minutes to kill and a smartphone?
It's yours.
Probably post a thing. That's different. How about register to vote?
Really? You can. 5 minutes online and a Massachusetts driver's license is all it takes to register. You can vote for our next president. Go to registertovote.ma.com. It's that easy.
That's it for us, Sarah. We're out of here.
Register today.
Actually, I was going to watch the news.
Just a bit of time left here on post-debate analysis. The city of Reagan covered the White House every day as our senior White House
We
correspondent.
can't watch the news
Not a lot
on
of
Fox.
undecided voters left in this race.
It's so,
Leaning
Fox
one way or
is
the
so
other. I don't think
one-sided.
they
It's
got
not
out of this
Fox,
tonight.
it's
Keep
what
thinking about
taste station
200,000
is.
people
I
dead in
don't
the
know.
pandemic, the high
It is,
rate of
yeah.
unemployment that we are looking at right now. Take away
No,
from
this
most
is
Americans
Fox.
after watching this
No,
tonight.
it doesn't.
No, ABC.
And one of the things we are
That's
already
Channel
seeing
5.
online.
You watch
is
PBS,
a lot of
it's
people
like
wondering, will there
less.
be more debates after this? Will we see the final two
Take my
presidential debates?
phone and
PBS and BBC is actually more normal news than like Fox or
Right now, we
CNN.
have much more.
Usually watch those at Channel 4.
On Good Morning America. For many of you right now, it's time for your late news.
And Ranger Street is really useful. 4, 5, and 7. 7 is not bad.
I can't stand this fucking
In business, you have to be able to shift, pivot, adapt. Then you do it all over again. Comcast Business gives you fast, reliable internet on the nation's largest gig-speed network. And now for a limited time, you can also get fast shipping with Amazon Business Prime Essentials. So no matter what comes next, you'll always be ready to bounce forward. Get started with powerful internet and ask about select plans of Amazon Business Prime Essentials on us. Plus, for a limited time, ask how to get a $100 rebate card. Call the one line to Amazon Business.
No, I said I'm going to sleep downstairs because it's too hot up here. I can't sleep in way too hot. And then tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to go find my shower. I'm going to wake up at 6 to go to the
You're going to go to the house?
Yeah, I keep going there every day. I'm going to do that every day from here out. It's like a full-time job.
Parenting while working the COVID front lines. Chronicle Wednesday. WCTV Center 5 at 11 starts right now.
The outdoors closing in and strong winds to follow. What will all mean for the morning? Massachusetts moving to the next reopening phase.
What's open and what isn't? Why it could vary from town to town.
It's going to rain.
The outbreak hitting NFL teams, the weekend games in jeopardy.
Back on the job after beating the odds, a local firefighter's cancer battle and the lessons she wants to share with everyone.
We begin with President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden taking part in a very fiery first debate. Hello, everybody. Maria Stefano.
And I'm Ed Harding, and this is Vice Ben Simino. Watched all 90 minutes of the debate tonight. He's here right now with some of the key moments for us, Ben.
Yeah, I got to be upfront with you guys. This was difficult to watch. Interruptions.
I keep having this shooting serious. I mean,
the moderator lost the
this has been going on for months. I moved the wrong way. I was like,
at the end called it the worst presidential debate he's ever seen.
it probably is. Yeah. It was stupid. That was fucking.
Will you shut up?
It's a catastrophe.
This is yours.
Gentlemen, I think
This is so unprecedented.
it is hard to characterize this as a debate.
Everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his
He's
lies.
right.
He's knows
He's a liar.
But you, I
He's
just
a liar.
want to make sure.
The insults and interruptions started early and did not relent.
He graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word. Because you know
He didn't even fucking go to college.
Even
Oh, so
Mario
there you go.
has seemed at a loss.
Sir,
with $1 billion, if you
that
really
is
have to,
absolutely not true.
The country would be better served if we allowed
Yeah,
both people to speak.
By all accounts I've read on the internet so far, he's lost by a million.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting.
that's all right, but he does plenty.
The 90-minute spectacle quickly turned to coronavirus. The president pushed them with holding huge rallies.
So
yes.
far, we have had no problem whatsoever.
Fuck.
Yet former Republican
Oh my
presidential
God,
candidate
I have, like,
died of
I don't
coronavirus
even know how
after
to
attending the
describe
Trump
it.
rally.
I can't even like
And the CDC said if this
describe
were
how
masked
bad
between
it's
now
being
and
shoot into my back.
mask and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives.
There's nothing. I have 3 herniated discs and fucking arthritis.
No
I'm
serious
fucking
person
screwed.
said yes.
And then it was on to President Trump's taxes. The New York Times reported he paid just $750 in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017.
Fucking douchebag. This guy's a billionaire and he pays $750 in taxes.
And
Fuck
let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the
And he wants to take away health
I paid
insurance.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million. Show us your taxes.
27
The
million.
president also refused to condemn white supremacists.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
Anything I want to see.
these Proud Boys. Oh, stay tuned. Fucking asshole.
What do you want?
Nazi. If you vote for Trump, you are siding with the Nazis, literally. That's true.
Stand back and stand by.
There you
I'll
go.
tell you what. I'll tell you.
That is what?
Somebody's gotta
That's
do
gonna kill
something
him.
about Antifa and the left.
So the question
Proud Boys are
will
Nazis.
we see another
By the
debate
way.
this election cycle be
They really are Nazis.
the debate?
You like Nazis?
Moving
Vote
on
for
to
Trump.
those trending topics right now on Twitter.
What's that got to do with cowboys?
Proud Boys. It's a Nazi faction, a bunch of
Well,
fucking
we're talking
idiots.
about cowboys.
Proud Boys are a
What is going on?
my back.
Chief Meteorologist Harvey Leonard is here with the timing
Ow.
of bad weather.
Jesus Christ.
Harvey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we have to move tomorrow, by the way. We all know that, right? Because my sister keeps texting me to tell me that.
No, it's
We have to be out tomorrow.
Thursday.
No, she keeps telling me we have to be out tomorrow.
Some lightning and brief
Not you.
free flooding.
Us.
Let me show you what we're talking about here. We have a wind advisory that goes into effect at midnight until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We're talking about frequent gusts, at least for about a 2 or 3
I'm not bringing anything. I'm leaving all my shit behind. I'm starting over and I'm gonna kill myself next week, so it'll be fine. So I don't need her.
You will see that the gusts here are forecast to be anywhere from 45 to 55 miles an hour. Remember, the trees are foliated, so that could create some pockets of down branches or down trees or even scattered power outages. Most of the showers are in western New England now, but as we wind out, you'll see more and more. Even though the heaviest rains will be in western New England,